Okay, we are going to have a lecture of DAPM 11063, which is Agri-Food Product Manufacturing and Value Chain. So today we are going to talk about plant-based food processing and logistics management. So specifically, we are going to talk about fruit and vegetable processing and value addition. I'm Geeti Pamunwa. I'm a senior lecturer of the Department of Horticulture and Landscape Gardening of the Faculty of Agriculture and Plantation Management. So let's look at, now we are going to talk about processing and preservation. So why do we have to process and preserve? Because foods undergo deterioration. They decay, foods. They decay and they are affected by so many factors. So they lose their ability to be a food, actually. Because if the food is, say, infected with microbes, if they produce toxins and if the microbes are bad to us, we don't want to eat the foods anymore. So now foods undergo deterioration and losses. So we are going to talk about those things now. First, so what are the contributory factors for food deterioration and losses? So one is chemical changes. Chemical changes can be either enzymatic or non-enzymatic. Chemical changes, rasayanikava siduna venaskam. So they can be either enzymatic or non-enzymatic.
Recording in progress.
So do you know what enzymes are?
Yes.
All of you? Please let me know if you don't know what enzymes are.
Enzymes are protein.
Yes. Proteins. And what do they do, enzymes?
Induce the reaction of.
You're partly correct. The word is not induce. I think it's accelerates. Enzymes accelerate the chemical reactions. Right? There are, plenty of reactions do not take place fast enough. Right? So they do not take place fast. They can stay for many years sometimes without reacting with each other. Reactants can be like that. So what the role of enzymes is to bring a So what enzymes do is that they make the reaction occur fast. They bind to the reactants and make the reaction happen fast. So that is the role of enzymes, right? Enzymes they play a catalytic role. They make reactions happen fast, right? So that is what enzymes are, right? So these chemical changes that take place can be either enzymatic, that is, some chemical changes are catalyzed by enzymes, and there are certain other chemicals which are not catalyzed by enzymes. Enzymes are not involved in those chemical reactions. So there are two types, enzymatic changes and non-enzymatic changes. So we will look at what enzymatic changes are and what non-enzymatic changes that we're talking about when we talk about food deterioration. So both enzymatic changes and non-enzymatic changes affect many properties of foods. chemical properties and physical properties, and also the sensory quality changes. For example, lipid oxidation. If lipid oxidation happens, we will not like to consume that lipid anymore. So I will come to that later. Now, one example is rancidity, which is mudu wenawa kiyanne tel mudu wenawa. So if oil has gone rancid, we don't want to use that in food. And there are non-enzymatic browning reactions. Browning reactions not involved where enzymes are not.
Caramelization.
I'm sorry?
Caramelization.
Yes, that's one example. That's correct. Non-enzymatic browning. Caramelization is one example. And also there is another example, which is Maillard reactions. So caramelization takes place when there are sugar. When there are sugars, caramelization takes place. So these Maillard reactions take place when there are proteins and sugars together. And color reactions and flavor changes also take place due to both enzymatic and non-enzymatic reactions, and nutritional quality can go down. Nutritional quality. And there can be many physical changes. Yes, all enzymes are proteins. All enzymes are proteins. There are other things that catalyze reactions, but they are not called enzymes. When we call enzymes, they are proteins. And nutritional quality and many physical changes can take place. Bruises and damages to fruits, vegetables, and many physical changes. The color can change, and there can be many physical changes that take place that leads to food deterioration and losses. And also many changes are brought about by microbes and animals. These are living organisms. So those things also affect food deterioration and losses. So let's talk about enzymatic changes first. Now, enzymes endogenous to plant tissues. So that means plant tissues have enzymes. I mean, we don't have to put enzymes. Plant tissues already have enzymes. So those are called endogenous enzymes, right? Plant tissues already have enzymes. And the changes brought about by enzymes can be either desirable or undesirable. That is, sometimes we want those reactions to take place, and sometimes we don't want the reactions to take place. Sometimes we want to stop the reactions or delay the reactions. So effects of endogenous enzymes. Post-harvest senescence and spoilage. So what is that? So when we remove a fruit from the plant, or if we take a vegetable, those are still living systems. They do respiration. So they take oxygen, emit carbon dioxide, and they do transpiration. So water vapor comes from the fruits and vegetables. So they are living tissues, and there are, so as I mentioned previously, there are enzymes in plants and vegetables. So so they undergo changes. So if we take, for example, a mango, so initially it will be green in color, and then it will turn yellow when it is ripe, and then the fruit will become softer. And if we eat if we cut the mango when it is green, what happens is, it will be,
The pectinase.
yes, one of the reactions that comes under number 4, softening of plant tissues during ripening, that is brought about by, that is catalyzed by pectinases. The pectin is, I'm talking about number 4 now. Pectin is the substance that gives firmness to fruits. And so with time, due to the action of pectinases, this pectin can undergo some chemical reactions. Actually, they undergo a demethylation reaction. Because of the, you don't have to worry about that. These enzymes, pectinates, change the enzyme, the pectins in the fruits, and because of that, the tissues become softer during ripening. Right? So I was talking about number 1, post-harvest senescence and spoilage. So if we take a mango, let's take that mango, it becomes yellow. And if we cut it, it is sweet. But if we take a mango that is not ripe enough, it can be sour and it will not have a sweet taste. And also, so that is post-harvest senescence and spoilage. Ultimately, if we don't eat the mango, it will rot and we will not be able to eat it anymore. Then there can be microbial attack and we won't be able to eat it anymore. And there is another thing called enzymatic browning. That is another reaction that is brought about by enzymes. So do you know about enzymatic browning? Okay, tell me what happens when we take a slice of apple from the fruit. What happens to it?
Become browny.
Yes, the surface becomes brown, and that is because of
Polyphenol oxidase.
that is right. The enzyme polyphenol oxidase catalyzes a reaction. You don't have to worry about the reaction, but it is polyphenols getting oxidized to form brown color pigments, brown color complexes, right? So polyphenols get oxidized due to the action of polyphenol oxidase. So that is another role of endogenous enzyme. And starch sugar conversion. So starch. So when we take a banana, if we eat it unripe, we won't get a sweet taste. It will be starch only. But with time, due to the action of enzymes, the starch gets converted to sugar. And because of that, we get this sweet taste. So those reactions and also softening of plant tissues, we talked about it previously. So those changes are brought about by enzymes, endogenous enzymes, which are already there. And we actually want these reactions to take place. So we want this, we want the fruit to ripe. And yeah, enzymatic browning, of course, we don't want. We want starch to get converted to sugar. We want to make the fruit soften so that they are ready to eat, but over-ripening is not good. We want, to a certain extent, we want some enzymatic reactions to take place, but we don't want to make those reactions happen too fast. When we take, say, a banana, fruit එකක් ගත්තොත් අපිට ඒක කන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මේ reactions අපි වෙනවට අපි කැමති. දැන් banana එකක් ripe වෙන්න ඕනේ. Mango එකක් ripe වෙන්න ඕනේ. මේ reactions අපිට ඕනේ වෙන්නේ. But sometimes we want to increase the shelf life. අපිට මේක දවස් 5කින් නෙවෙයි සමහරට අපිට 20කින් වෙන්න අපි try කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද that is because we want sometimes to transport fruits and vegetables to distant places. And after transporting also, we want the fruits and vegetables to be in good quality. Right? Because of that, we want to delay certain enzymatic reactions. So we can do many things to change the enzymatic activity. So one is temperature, water activity, temperature. Sometimes like a fruit at 25 degrees Celsius and a fruit at 40 degrees Celsius, if we compare ripening of those two things, the fruits at two different temperatures, we will definitely see that the fruit at 40 degrees Celsius will ripen fast. So the temperature is affecting, but if we increase the temperature to 60 or 70, that will not be a good thing. That is, the temperature is too much. So that will harm the fruits and vegetables. But if we increase the temperature a little bit, and if the temperature is around 40, I think, it will give a good effect. 40 or slightly below 40, it will give a good effect. I mean, the reaction will happen fast. So if we want to make the fruits ripen slowly, then we might choose a lower temperature. Sometimes we can go up to 15 degrees Celsius. But I'm sure you have experienced that if you put a banana in the fridge, what will happen?
Freeze damages.
Chill damages, yes. If we put it in the fridge, chill damages take place. Chilling injuries take place. So that is what I wanted to highlight, was that we can reduce the temperature and make these reactions happen at a slow rate. We can do that. But sometimes we don't want to decrease the temperature too much also. For example, if we take banana, we can't keep it at 4 degrees Celsius. We can't keep it in the refrigerator. The temperature can be 15 degrees Celsius or so. So we have to think of the fruit, and each different fruits can be lowered to different levels. Sometimes we can't use these fridges or 4 degrees or 5 degrees. They will need a higher temperature, but still the temperature can be lower than the temperature of the room temperature. Yeah, due to these enzymatic reactions, many other changes also occur in fruits and vegetables. I just took now these 4 examples, the most common reactions that take place, right? And so yes, temperature we can decrease. If the room temperature is 25, we may be able to decrease the temperature to 15 in the case of banana. Right? So apples, we can decrease the temperature to, I think, about 4 to 8 with no problem. So we have to consider the different fruit and vegetables when we decide on the temperature. to increase the shelf life. And then water activity. Water activity. So all of us know that like enzymes are proteins and they are soluble in water. Right? They are soluble in water. They are stable in water. So when the water content or water activity increases, so now if the fruit or vegetable is very dry, then enzymatic reactions will not take place. For example, if we take dehydrated fruit or vegetables, right, dehydrated fruit or vegetables, in those things, enzymatic reactions do not take place. But so enzymes need water for the enzymes to catalyze reactions. So if we have enough water, then enzymatic reactions will take place successfully. And enzymatic, this water activity is related to some other thing as well, like microbial growth. For microbes also, water activity is very important, right? So for enzymatic activity also, water is important. And the pH. Different enzymes function best at different pHs. Right? So there can be certain enzymes that function best at pH 4.5. And there can be other enzymes that have that function best at pH 7. Did you understand that point? So for different enzymes, the optimum pH is different. Did you understand what I said?
Yes.
All of you? Right. Okay, right. Thank you. And chemicals that can inhibit enzyme reactions. So there can be chemicals that will affect the enzymes. We can put chemicals that can affect the enzymes. So in that case, enzymatic reactions will not take place. Can you give me an example? A simple example?
Colchicine.
Colchicine, that's correct, but something that we do at home easily. Ethylene is a plant hormone and it actually...
Acetic acid.
Yes. Ethylene is a plant hormone and it plays a role in ripening of fruits, right? Ethylene is a plant hormone. It's not an enzyme, it's a hormone. So you said citric acid. Can you explain how you can, like in what instances you can inhibit enzyme action using citric acid?
Salt.
Salt is also correct. Both answers are correct. Citric acid and salt. I'm asking you to give an example where we can use citric acid to stop enzymatic reactions.
Enzymatic browning.
That is actually not relevant to... Yeah, enzymatic browning. So what you're telling is, I think what you try to say is, take, for example, you make a fruit salad. So you want to put pieces of apple and pieces of banana. But both the fruits undergo enzymatic browning. So they turn brown. They turn brown fast. So we can't actually make a fruit salad early and keep it. We can't do it because those fruits undergo browning. So what we can do is that we can dip the fruit pieces in a citric acid solution. Okay, and then after some time we can take the pieces out and then we can incorporate banana pieces and apple pieces in the fruit salad, and you will be able to keep it for some time, right? For a considerable period of time. So if you invite your friends for dinner, normally if you want to give fruit salad, you'll have to prepare it after dinner, just before eating the fruit salad. But if you use this citric acid, using citric acid, you can prepare it beforehand, and then so it will be okay for 2 to 3 hours if you dip the fruits in citric acid and take it, right? Then you will be good. Right, that was an example of chemicals that can inhibit enzyme reactions. So citric acid affects the chemical structure of enzymes. And because of that, enzymes cannot do their function properly. Any questions up to this point?
Madam,
Yes?
starch sugar conversion එකට Maillard reaction එකද ගන්නෙ?
Starch sugar conversion එකට ගන්නේ enzyme එක ගත්තොත් amylase. Enzyme එක ගත්තොත් Maillard reaction එක කියන්නේ වෙන එකක්. Maillard reaction එක වෙන එකට example එකක් තමයි if we take making milk toffee. Maillard reactions rarely occur in fruits and vegetables. Okay? If you take milk toffee, you add milk which has proteins. Actually, proteins are made of amino acids, and amino acids are the ones that are involved in this reaction. There is milk and sugar. So those two can react and it will give a brown color. It will form brown complexes, right? Brown compounds, polymers. Also, at the same time, caramelization takes place when we make milk toffee because sugar is there. So sugars can react and then caramelize. Is it clear to you?
Yes, madam. අර bakery industry වලදීත් මේ Maillard reaction එක ගන්නව නේද? අර fish bun වගේ.
Right, ගන්නවා. Maillard reaction එක වෙනවා bakery industry එකෙත්, right. Proteins උයි sugar තියෙන ඕනම එක Maillard reaction වෙන්න පුළුවන් heat එක තියෙනවා නම්. දැන් අපි ගත්තාම ඔය meat වර්ග අපි ඒවා දැන් අර grill එක දාලා roast කරන මේ heat කරන වෙලාවකදී වුණත් දැන් අර golden brown color එක එන්න උදව් වෙනවා Maillard reaction එක. Proteins react කරනවා sugars එක්ක.
හරි, thank you, madam.
Right. So then chemical changes. If we take chemical changes, some chemical changes, both enzymatic and non-enzymatic, affect sensory quality of the foods as well. So lipid oxidation, as I mentioned previously, lipid oxidation, non-enzymatic browning, color changes and flavor changes affect the sensory quality of the foods. Lipid oxidation. Factors affecting the rate of reaction. So I gave you one example of lipid oxidation, that is rancidity. So that means foods, the lipidic component undergoes oxidation reactions. That is, the lipids react with oxygen to form many compounds. And because of that, there is this off flavor development, and we don't want to eat those things anymore. මුඩු වෙනවා. පොල් තෙල් වගේ එකක් ගත්තාම අපිට හොඳ එක්සැම්පල් එකක්. මුඩු වෙනවා කියන එක. එතකොට දැන් හැම රියැක්ෂන් එකක් වගේම there are factors affecting the rate of reaction. So these are factors actually that affect almost all reactions, right? One is light. So light actually increases the rate of reactions because light gives energy to the molecules, and light, if the reactants, the substrates are exposed to light, usually the reactions take place fast. And also local oxygen concentration. If we are talking about lipid oxidation, obviously the oxygen concentration has a role to play. If the local oxygen concentration is high, the lipid oxidation rate will also be high. And high temperature. Usually up to a certain point, we can increase the temperature to increase the rate of reaction. So in other words, if we reduce the temperature, we can actually keep the oil for a longer period of time without those oils undergoing lipid oxidation reactions. So this is something that I normally do when I buy coconut oil. I pour the oil to a container, a plastic container, and I keep it in the fridge. So what happens is that it becomes solidified. So now the oil is a solid, but then whenever I want to use coconut oil, I can take a tablespoon and get the amount that I want. So I do that to delay rancidity. I use a low temperature to slow down the reaction. And so in the presence of many metal atoms, the reaction takes place fast. For example, iron and copper. If iron and copper are present, these oxidation reactions happen fast. Hydrolytic rancidity, that is now in hydrolysis of triglycerides, right? In hydrolysis of triglycerides, due to these hydrolytic reactions, the fatty acids separate from the glycerol molecule, and that can be called hydrolytic rancidity if it gives foul smells and if it undergoes oxidation. So hydrolytic rancidity means rancidity rancidity that occur as a result of hydrolysis of the triglycerides or diglycerides or monoglycerides. So that happens due to hydrolytic reactions. So if we take lipid oxidation, so any lipid, any fatty acid can undergo lipid oxidation. Any fatty acid, any lipid can, any lipid can't be all the lipids, but so there should be actually, now I'm telling you, now this is the thing that I plan to explain. Now I'm explaining something that is not be tested at the exam, right? I don't expect you to understand this 100%. If you know these things, that is enough. Okay, now lipids, if they are prone to oxidation, usually if they have double bonds and if the electron density is very high, they are prone to oxidation and they can undergo oxidation. So now lipids prone to undergoing oxidation can actually react with oxygen and form many other different compounds, and they give foul smells, and we will not want to eat those lipids anymore. Lipid hydrolysis is removal of fatty. Now, if you take a triglyceride that consists of a glycerol molecule and 3 fatty acids, so now the bond between glycerol and fatty acid can be broken through hydrolysis. So that is what is lipid hydrolytic rancidity. That is what drives hydrolytic rancidity. But I don't expect you to know those things that I said now. So water activity. So when water activity increases, this breaking down of lipids, as I mentioned previously, hydrolysis takes place, and it can affect the rate of lipid oxidation, rate of reaction. So if we control these factors, we can reduce the extent of lipid oxidation in foods. We can reduce the extent of lipid oxidation in foods. Nutritional quality. So like any other reactions, now the reactions leading to nutritional quality losses can be controlled using these factors. So these are the major factors affecting nutritional quality: light, oxygen concentration, temperature, and water activity. So if we talk about nutritional quality, so let's take one example, vitamin C or ascorbic acid. Vitamin C or ascorbic acid. They are the most sensitive vitamin in foods is vitamin C. Vitamin C, the structure is given here. It is also called ascorbic acid. So it is the most sensitive vitamin in foods, and it is sensitive to oxygen. That is, it gets deteriorated. It gets decomposed in the presence of oxygen. This ascorbic acid breaks down in the presence of oxygen. If we make the pH to a higher pH, and trace metal ions such as iron, copper, like that, trace metal ions, and moisture. So this vitamin C is a very sensitive compound. So the vitamin C is present in dark green leafy vegetables, papaya, citrus fruits, etc. So chemical changes can lead to the loss of vitamin C. And physical changes. So if we take fruits and vegetables, physical damages in the field even when harvesting, physical damages can take place during transportation, storage, and handling. So I have seen people using wooden boxes to transport fruits and vegetables, and sometimes including tomato, which is very sensitive. So now it's not practical to protect each tomato fruit, but then it is very sensitive too. So because of that, during handling, such vegetables and fruits are very susceptible to get damaged. So what we have to do is that we have to use good handling practices and also appropriate packaging. I'm sure you have seen these, sometimes the apples are put in these cushioning like covers with big holes. There is this cushioning like material that is used to package apples. I'm sure you have seen that. So likewise, we can use appropriate packaging material to package fruits and vegetables so that they don't undergo physical changes. And if we take a powder such as milk powder, Milo, Nester Malt, like that, with time, with the absorption of moisture, they undergo caking. You can see in this picture, there are like big now, they're not powders anymore. They have aggregated and formed these like bigger structures. And we can't dissolve the milk powder or Milo or Nester Malt easily when this happens. And also, there are many changes that are caused by microbes. So microorganisms found in food can be bacteria or fungi. So if we take bacteria, there are many pathogens and many other bacteria. Examples include Escherichia coli, Salmonella, Shigella, Staphylococcus. And compared to fungi, bacteria grow faster. And if we take fungi, they can be yeasts and molds. So you can see the picture on the right-hand side, yeasts and molds. Yeasts are like, we actually don't, well, sometimes we use yeast. Can you give me an example?
පිපුම් කාරකයක් විදිහට අර මේ ආප්ප වගේ දේවල් හදද්දි කෑමවලදී.
Oh, Appa Hadaddi. And can you give me another example?
හත්තු
මොකද?
හත්තු වගේ දේවල් නෑ නෑ.
Yeast පාවිච්චි කරනවා අපි bread in the bakery industry to make bread. Then yeast වල මොකද වෙන්නේ? Reaction එකේදී carbon dioxide හැදෙනවා. ඒකෙන් තමයි bread වල structure එක එන්නේ, porous structure එක. Carbon dioxide evolve වෙන එකකින් පිපෙනවා. dough එක හරියට හැදෙන්න we use yeast. Yes. yeast වල reaction එක තමයි glucose එක react කරලා alcohol and ඒ කියන්නේ ethanol and carbon dioxide හදන එක. එතකොට carbon dioxide හදන එක වැදගත් bakery industry වලට. ethanol තිබ්බොත් ඒව ඔක්කොම evaporate වෙනවා අපි bake කරද්දී. That is one area we use yeast. අනික් එක තමයි to make wine and beer, we use yeast. Because ethanol hadana nisa. So those are instances that we want yes. So those are instances that we want. We intentionally use yeast, but there can be other instances that we don't want the action of yeast. That is, if we take a beverage, like a normal beverage, fruit juice mixture, fruit juice, or ready to serve beverage, then in that case, we don't want alcohol production. We don't want to spoil the drink. But if we do not process it properly, then these reactions catalyzed by yeast will take place and the juice will not be drinkable as it is anymore. In those cases, we want to kill the yeast. So we use a high thermal treatment, heat treatment, to get rid of the yeast. And molds. So I'm sure you have seen this mold growth even on bread. If we don't eat it fast enough, if we keep the bread for about, I don't know, many days, 5, 6, 7 days, we can see mold growth. So black in color usually, but sometimes we get these green colored molds also. So you can see in this picture, a mandarin has undergone this infection by molds. Mold growth on this mandarin fruit is shown. So these microbes, as I mentioned previously, changes caused by microbes can be either desirable or undesirable. So it's desirable when we add as an essential part in food preservation. So those are desirable. And undesirable changes take place when microbes arise unintentionally and subsequently grow to produce food spoilage. So those are the two sides of microbial changes. So types of foods, based on stability, we can categorize foods into 3 groups: perishable, semi-perishable, and shelf-stable. These definitions are not like strict. We can roughly use these definitions. So perishable items are not processed or minimally processed. So have you seen, can you give me an example where you have seen these minimally processed fruits and vegetables?
Mushroom.
Mushroom is, yes, not processed, right? It's packaged. What else? Have you seen the
Fruits.
yes, fresh fruits? I mean, fresh fruits and vegetables, yeah, they are of course not processed. That's true. Fresh fruits and vegetables are not processed. So those are perishable items, right? I want some examples of minimally processed, like processed, but not heavily processed items.
Pasteurized milk.
Well, that is true. Can you give me examples of fruits and vegetables? Minimally processed? Can you give me an example where you have seen processed but minimally processed?
Blanch කරපු vegetables.
කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ?
අර noodle එක්ක එහෙම තියෙන්නේ.
Minimally processed noodles වල? Hari, now have you seen in supermarkets when you go to the cashier? Usually you have these styrofoam plates where cut fruits are placed on the trays and covered with cling wrap. Covered with cling wrap, have you seen that? අර supermarkets වල වගේ cashier එක ළඟට යද්දි එතන තමයි normally තියෙන්නේ. Styrofoam පොඩි tray එකක කපලා fruits තියලා අර cling wrap එක wrap කරලා vegetables උත් එහෙම තියෙනවා. දැකලා තියෙනවද? Minimally processed.
No.
දැකලා නැහැ? I think you should go to I'm sure you have gone to a supermarket, but you haven't observed this. You haven't observed this, I think. චුට්ටක් ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න කීල්ස් එකට වගේ ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න දැකලා තියෙනවද කියලා? මේකෙත් තියෙනවා. කාගිල්ස් වලත් මම දැකලා තියෙනවා මේ පොඩි trays වල දාලා cut ඒවා minimally processed. මොකද wash කරන්න ඕනේ, peel කරන්න ඕනේ, කපන්න ඕනේ, හොඳ shape එකකට නැත්නම් size එකකට සමහර ඒවා citric acid වල dip කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ processing එකක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. නිකම්ම raw fruits and vegetables නෙවෙයි. processing එකක් වෙලා තියෙනවා but minimally processed.
අර කොහිල පෙතිත් ඒ වගේද පැක් කරපු?
කොහිල පෙතිත් තියෙනවානේ. ඔව්. කොහිල පෙති මම දැකලා තියෙනවද කියලා මට ෂුවර් නැහැ. කොහිල පෙති තියෙනවා නම් ඒකත් එහෙම තමයි. හැබැයි එහෙමනම් බ්ලාන්ච් කරන්නවත් වෙයි කොහිල පෙති තියෙනවා නම්. බ්‍රවුනින් නතර කරන්නත් ඕනේ. දැන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් instant soup එක මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා dehydrated vegetables. soup එකක තියෙනවා dehydrated vegetables. එතකොට dehydrated vegetables minimally processed එකක් නන් නෙවෙයි. When it comes to not processed or minimally processed items, the qualities of the fruits and the vegetables are very similar to the unprocessed material. Very much similar to the unprocessed material. Right? So the qualities is largely retained, but if we take dehydrated vegetables, the quality is drastically changed. So that is not minimal processing. That is true processing, not minimal processing, right? So the shelf life is smaller than 60 days. Examples include vegetables, fruits, meat, and milk. So forms of processing can be washing, peeling, packaging, storage under low temperature, like that. And there are semi-perishable foods where the shelf life is between 2 to 6 months as a result of mild preservation methods. So those preservation methods include, now examples of semi-perishable items include pickled vegetables, ice cream, cheese, eggs, root crop. So if we can keep it for 2 to 6 months, those are called semi-perishable items. And the other end is shelf-stable items. The shelf life is greater than 6 months. So at room temperature. Examples include dehydrated vegetables. So dehydrated vegetables come under shelf-stable material, because if we dehydrate vegetables or fruits, we can keep the dehydrated items for a very long period of time if we do packaging properly. So that is a shelf-stable product. And canned food. So how about this salmon? What is the shelf life? Have you noticed? How long can we keep salmon?
When it will be open,
Without opening, how long can we keep? The can, how long can we keep? I think it's 3 years. It's 3 years. The shelf life of salmon is 3 years. So, yes. And then canned food, cereal, grain, of course, dehydrated pasta, frozen food, and nuts. So, what we can identify is that after opening, they become perishable. Greater than 6 months. After opening, of course, we have to, after opening, we have to eat it or use it. After opening, because of the packaging and the treatments, only that we can keep it for such a long time, right? They can become perishable under certain conditions. Faulty seams of cans. So if cans, that is, if the cans are not sealed properly, then the food will not be shelf stable. They can be perishable. Right? So many other like microbes can enter and many other reactions can take place. So then what is inside will be perishable.
Recording stopped.
Right. We will have a 10-minute break and then come do the lecture again. 10-minute break.